Let's move on to the next part. This is about Russia. This was actually the first Russia indictment to come down. And it was definitely kind of amusing. The DOJ is alleging a vast Russian social media campaign to influence the U.S. election. Here is Merrick Garland at his press conference. Let's take a listen.
Today, our colleagues at the State and Treasury Departments are announcing parallel actions in both of these matters. Unfortunately, we know that Russia is not the only foreign power seeking to interfere in our elections. As the U.S. intelligence community noted 2 weeks ago, we have observed increasingly aggressive Iranian activity during this election cycle. That includes recently reported activities by Iran to compromise former President Trump's campaign and to avoid an election outcome that it regards as against its interests. Those recently reported Iranian activities also include efforts to obtain access to individuals who themselves have access to the presidential campaigns of both political parties. The Justice Department's message is clear. We have no tolerance for attempts by authoritarian regimes to exploit our democratic system of government. We will be relentlessly aggressive in countering and disrupting attempts by Russia and Iran, as well as China or any other foreign malign actor, interfere in our elections and undermine our democracy.
Okay, so that was part of the big press conference. Next, let's put this one up there on the screen. They have announced a plan to counter Russian influence ahead of the 2024 election. I went through, and while this RT indictment was a separate one, it actually came out much later than the original one. The original one, honestly, is a complete joke, because if you go through and actually start to read what all of this is, they are targeting both individuals and others who basically like wrote op-eds or appeared on RT Russia Today as some sort of large encompassing Russian social media op, on top of highlighting some of the so-called Russian disinformation on social media. Somehow, Krystal, they have actually gotten worse, in my opinion, from 2016. If you'll remember all those idiot Bernie bro memes and some of the pro-Trump stuff, I will show you some of that in a little bit. But you know, one case I've really had my eye on, and this is actually part of this investigation, let's put this up there, is that of the DOJ, who is serving subpoenas and search warrants on certain individuals here in the United States who they allege are part of this vast Russian, state media campaign. One of them was Scott Ritter. Now, Scott is one of those people, many people who watch the show may even know. I would say it's probably fair to say he's like very anti-establishment, has a very different view, I think, in the most charitable sense of the Ukraine conflict, and has been pretty vociferous about U.S. support to Ukraine. He's been accused of being quote unquote pro-Russian, but his house was raided, as they put in here. The FBI went after him, and a lot of it seems to stem from the fact that he was very open about going on RT and or writing op-eds, for them. Now, I think that's very different, doing something out in the open and being very open with your opinions, as opposed to what Lauren Chen and Liam Donovan were doing, which is taking money knowingly from Russia and then funneling that to other people and basically deceiving them into some sort of large scheme. So I have been wanting to keep my eye on this. I'm not saying I'm pro Scott Ritter or anything, but he's a U.S. citizen.
I mean, the point
he's a U.S. citizen, and he has a legitimate opinion. You may not agree with that opinion. Why are they going through this man's house?
Yeah, and he hasn't been indicted yet, just to be clear. But yeah, this is where you get into like, listen, you're allowed to be pro-Putin.
Actually.
Like, this is, this is America. We're supposed to have free speech rights. And even if, your speech is supporting official bad guy regime of the U.S. government, like you're allowed to do that. So, that's where it starts to get. The other thing with all of this, Saagar, is, you're talking about one of the things that they're targeting is this this Doppelganger campaign, they're calling it, of, this is the kind of the creating fake network that use sites, they say, that impersonated legitimate news entities and fake social media profiles impersonating Americans. This goes back to like some of the core 2016 allegations of the influence campaign that was being run there. And, I'm not saying any of this is good, by the way we engage in these types of activities as well, as does, and we'll get to this in a minute, Israel, and no one seems that upset about that, and there's no indictments coming down about that, but we'll pause that for a moment. We should also be clear about we have wildly expensive, elaborate, sophisticated presidential campaigns, okay? The memes and the fake news, the things that they're putting out, like, it shouldn't freak you out that Russia is running our democracy, okay? It's even these videos, they got these top commentators on their payroll, unknowingly again, Tim Pool and Dave Rubin. These guys get millions of views, right? They're very popular and in plenty of circles. And even their content, you were saying, is getting like 8,000 views on these videos. Like, that's nothing. That's nothing. So even as, in that instance, if the allegations are true, like, there should be indictments there. You're laundering money, $10 million, you're creating fake businessmen, whatever. But let's also be really clear-eyed about how much impact any of this is actually having on our politics.
Yes, absolutely.
And there is, going back to 2016 when you had the whole frenzy around this, whatever, there was never any evidence that any of it meaningfully impacted how people voted and what the actual outcome of that election ultimately was.
Yeah, and for example, I went through and actually read this indictment whenever it was coming out. Let's put this on the screen. I want people to see what was so spooky and scary. Here is one of the massive Russian influence operations. It was a Facebook page called CNN California in blue, not even in the CNN logo. It had 2 likes and 7 followers. The description was, "From sunny beaches to busting tech hubs, we explore the lifestyle, news, and development Californian." So grammatically incorrect, wrong logo, and weird banner. The next
with
is
7 followers.
Yeah, with 7 followers. Next is, quote, BBC California. Okay, like, why should we care exactly? These were obviously a complete joke. And that's the point, is that they're very obvious throughout all of these. You had grammatical errors, you had social media pages with very few followers and or accounts. And it actually reminds me of a lot of what came through the Twitter files, where you would watch the FBI get up in arms about some account that had like 12 followers that said, "Hey everybody, the election's on Wednesday." And there's an FBI agent sitting in Northern Virginia, getting paid probably $100,000 a year plus benefits, scrolling through and searching Twitter, spending our taxpayer dollars time interfacing with a social media company to try and get this stuff taken down. That's what all of this read through. And I went through, guys, this was a hundreds of pages indictment, and they point out these fake stories. And they point out, they're like, the Russian government created dummy news websites. And you'll look at it, it'll be like WashingtonPost.kp or something. Sorry, who's going to that? Like, for real. Like, do you really Google and then go to page 12 to click on WashingtonPost.kp? Are you that stupid? And if you are, like, you probably are going to fall for a 10 million more sites.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say is, I mean, out of all of this, though, especially if you are on Twitter, like, you just need to not believe anything that's on there anymore, because so much of it is, it's not even this foreign influence, some of it is that.
Yeah.
But people just make shit up now. I mean, it's just, I know it's always been the case, but I think it is worse than ever before under the, new Elon model, where anyone can get a blue check, and then they use that as some sort of credibility, and they'll just make stuff up. Their sources say Tim Walz is about to drop out. Their sources say, like, Joe Biden's actually dead and this is a body. Like, they will make stuff up. So please, I implore you, do not believe this, really, really double check anything that you are seeing spreading online, because the problem has never been worse than it is right now. Last piece of this we referenced a couple times, put D6 up on the screen. We know that Israel organized and paid for an influence campaign that targeted lawmakers directly, and especially black lawmakers, and would pose as like black constituents trying to push the Israel agenda. And I won't hold my breath on the indictments forthcoming for that one, which does show you, like, it's very selectively applied.
Of course.
Bottom line, it's very selectively applied here.
Is that there's so much filthy stuff out there, and people who are trying to buy your attention. I mean, B5. I put this in. I put this in on purpose. Put B5, please, on the screen, because as you see, they are also at the same time saying, quote, Iran emerges as a top disinformation threat in US presidential race. And without fail, you know, these conservatives, they're so laughable. For years, they cry about Russiagate. And I mean, Russiagate was a scam. But then the moment that there's some BS
that
DOJ being like, Iran's funding the protest, they're like, the entire protest movement is being funded by Iran. I'm like, do you hear yourselves? Do you hear yourself? Did we not just go through this? Are some of those people getting paid by Iran? Maybe. You know, I need to see a lot of evidence. I mean, that's part of the thing too, relating back to our tenant media discussion. The evidence is pretty unrefutable. You got wire transfers, you got private communications, you got all this other stuff. Now, again, I'm willing to hear them out. Like if they really had some alternative explanation, that'd be fine. But you know, we got to wait and see. This is the allegation of the U.S. government here. Here as well, though, you can obviously watch Iran, Israel, Russia, all these other people have all these influence operations that are currently happening here in America, but only Russia is called out, and they were whipping it into hysteria. And that's another issue, is that the Russiagate people are having the greatest day of their lives, because you've got commentators who they despise who are revealed to have been secret cutouts for Russian payments, on top of this, like, oh my God, everything we see on social media. Already, you know, I watch these CNN freaks like Asha Raganapa or whatever, who worked at CNN, be like, coincidentally, the Russian playbook exactly matches the Trump-Vance agenda. And you're like, okay, like here we go again.
Here we go.
Right, here we go again. And this is everything they've ever wanted. CNN is having a field day. By the way, who do you think broke the news that this was happening? CNN's Jim Acosta. It just tells you everything you need to know. Like it is obvious that they want to whip this all up again. The Democrats, especially the elite ones, and a lot of the commentators are loving this. We'll see if the Kamala campaign picks up on it. Wouldn't put it past them. It would be smart not to do it. But in general, what we can really learn, you know, from this indictment is that, you know, look, you think we're not up to very similar things in many other foreign countries. Hopefully we're doing a much better job than CNN California.
I doubt we are.
Yeah, we probably aren't.
Just a last thing on the Israel point that I wanted to point out is what they did are confirmed to have done according to multiple reports, including in Israeli news outlets. And again, this came directly from the Israeli government, is so similar to this whole Doppelganger thing. They created fake news websites.
You're exactly right.
They invented fake personalities interacting with lawmakers. They got caught because somebody who was, you know, involved with this didn't change their profile pic. They kept it as like, you know, some random white dude, and then they were posting like, as a middle-aged black woman, blah, blah, blah. But it's exactly the same as like the, you know, the doppelganger thing that they're alleging with the Russians. So in any case, I guess Russiagate, here we go again.
Yes, here we go again.
But please, guys, if whoever's out there listening, if some random person who you can't find online is offering you millions of dollars to produce a handful of videos, like maybe think a little bit about that one. Maybe
I get it. You know, Cybertruck, it seems cool. I understand.
These guys have plenty of money anyway. Like they're already so rich.
That is what I was going to get to. At the same time, I'm like, guys, I know how much you're probably making. And it's like, it's enough. You know, at what point?
You're good.
Yeah, you're very good. You don't need to take sketchy deals. Seriously, you can make plenty of money legitimately and not have problems now with the Department of Justice. And, you know, I mean, look, the legal fees that you're going to incur on a case like this, oh my God. Some of these, you know, from what I understand, these Washington lawyers who work on these DOJ, they charge like $1,000 an hour, you know, just to interface with the government on your behalf. So good luck, you know, to some of those folks out there. It's not worth it. It's not worth even the public reputation hit that you'll take on something like this.
Absolutely.
It's just embarrassing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Lauren Chen from here as of yet.
I mean, honestly, she should go to jail. She really should. Or she should get, at the very least, she should be put on probation or something like that. And all of those people involved, Ruben, you should sue her. They really should. Like, you take their assets, because the public reputation would be pretty easy to prove about the damages of what you've done. And second, you know, the U.S. government has the direct evidence of you lying to people. So screw you, honestly. I have genuinely scum. To put something like that onto other people. That's, if anything, you know, maybe you can live with taking money from a foreign government, but deceiving others that is the worst thing you can do. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.